But God used him with the gospel message. Whether it was by his words or by pen, God used him in a powerful way. He often spoke to audiences of 10, 20,000 people at a time. I mean, it was large crowds who were gathered to hear what he had to say. And as a result, millions of people came to Christ as a result of this man's steadfast ministry to be used by God. And through the Bible, we have many examples of people who God used in for people. For Pharaoh, God used God, which you could say fearful preaching by the name of Jonah, to bring revival to a place of Nineveh. And about a little shepherd boy named David to go up against the Philistine giant. But here's the thing. God didn't stop with just the people we read about here in this book. I believe that all the people that we read about in this book, we serve the same God that they. And I believe that God is still capable of doing the things through us that he did through people back in biblical times. If we have that mindset, if we have that desire to do what it is that God has called us to do, are we willing to be that person? Think about people like Mark Luther. Think about people, like we said, like D.L. Moody. What about Annie Armstrong, who we do the ministry for? What about, look at the amount of people Billy Graham reached. You know? We look at those people like, wow, I could never be like them. But they were just normal, everyday people who completely surrendered their lives to God and said, you know what? They said the same thing that Moses said. Here I am. Same thing. And they were willing to be used by God. Just normal, everyday people did extraordinary things through the power of God. And I want to tell you something. I truly believe within my heart that God wants to see somebody step up today and say, God, here I am. Let's do what it is that you have called us and called me to do. Now, you can talk to just about any professing Christian that you want. And I guarantee you, just about anybody that you can talk to would say these words. Well, we really need to see God. It would be really nice to see a revival break loose in the church. I don't think you have anybody, any professing Christian argue with me or you that there needs to be a revival that takes place in this world today. And if you don't believe it, just turn on the news. If there was ever a time in this country we need to see the power of God, it's right now. It's right now in the world that we live in. There is no shortage of peace. You would say, oh, I would love to see it. But you know what there is a shortage of? People who are willing to do something about it. A whole lot of people who want to talk about it. Very few want to do anything about it. And I think the biggest problem is the majority of people are just kind of sitting by waiting for somebody else to step up and do something. Just sitting there waiting. But I want to tell you something. Nearly every powerful move of God has started with one person that says, I'm ready to do something. Will we be that person? Will we be that person that says, enough is done, and I want to see God do it for me? And God, here I am, saying, use me. That was the case back in Nehemiah's day. Jerusalem had really been in ruin for many, many years. And many of the Israelites would tell you know what, there's a problem. Something that's not right, but nobody was willing to do anything about it. And in Nehemiah, God found a man who had a burden. And that burden led to an action. That burden led to him doing something, which sparked a major revival. You would turn to Nehemiah chapter 1 in the Bible. to look at verses 1 through 11. It says, during the month of Chislev in the 20th year, when I was in the fortress of the city of Susa, Hanani, one of my brothers, arrived with men from Judah. And I questioned them about Jerusalem and the Jewish remnant that had survived the exile. They said to me, the remnant in the province who survived the exile are in great trouble and disgrace. Jerusalem's wall has been broken down, and its gates have been burned down. When I heard these words, I sat down and wept. I mourned for a number of days and praying before the God of heaven. I said, Yahweh, the God of heaven, the great and awe-inspiring God, who keeps his gracious covenant with those who love him and keeps his commandments. Let your eyes be open and your ears be attentive to hear your servant's prayer. That I now pray to you day and night for your servants, the Israelites. I confess the sins we have committed against you. Both I and my father's house have sinned. We've acted corruptly toward you and have not kept the commands, statutes, and ordinances you have given your servant Moses. Please remember what you commanded your servant Moses. If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the people. But if you return to me and carefully observe my commands, even though your exiles are banished to the ends of the earth, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place where I choose to dwell. Okay, now stop right there reading that just for a second. Because do you see what's happening in this passage? Do you see what the very first thing Nehemiah is doing? He has poured his heart out to God. He's confessing his sins. He's repenting. He said, I know we have sinned. Me and my father's house have sinned against you. If we see a powerful move of God in the lives of us as individuals, in the lives of the church, it's going to start with us getting honest with ourselves and coming to God and truly repenting as a people and as a church. And if we do that, if we come to God with a broken heart and say, you know what, God, I know I've messed up. I know I've messed up. We haven't always done things the way that you wanted them to be done. In many ways, just like that song sang this morning. Just like that song sang, like he said. Prone to wonder, prone to leave the God I love. Each and every one of us are prone to that. But we serve a God who is rich in mercy, who is rich in love, who is rich in forgiveness. And if we are honest with ourselves, and we are honest to God, and we come to him with a truly repentant heart, he says in 2 Chronicles 7:4, if my people will humble themselves in prayer and seek my face, I will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. That's a message to the church. Folks, I'm telling you, all the world's problems and all the things that are going on in this crazy world we're living in right now, it's all going to start with the church getting their hearts right with God. And I truly believe with all of my heart that if we do that, if we truly come to God with a truly repentant heart, just like what Nehemiah did here, he will hear our prayers and he will heal our land. But are we willing to take that first step? We can sit and talk about it all we want, but are we willing to do it? Each and every one of us, I don't care how long you've been a Christian, whether for 1 minute or for 80 years, each and every one of us has something we can repent. Are we willing to do it? If we really want to see God do the work, we will make that step. Then we will do it. Continuing here, in verse 10, he says, they are your servants and your people. You redeemed them by your great and power and strong hand. Please, Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servants, and of that of your servants who delight to revere your name. Give your servant success today, and have compassion on him in the presence of this man. At the time, I was the king's cupbearer. Now, here in chapter 1, we get a glimpse of this man Nehemiah, and you can tell from his prayer, he had a very deep burden for these people in Israel. He was deeply burdened for them. And he had been appointed as the king's cupbearer. And what this person's job was, I mean, that was a really prestigious thing if he was a cupbearer for the king. Because what you did was, your job was to guard that cup. And your primary purpose was to make sure that nobody slipped any poison or anything into that cup. So basically, if you were in that position, you were in pretty high standing. Because basically, in all honesty, his life was literally in your hands. And there would be from time to time that you would actually be required to taste the food or to take a drink first before the king did, just to prove that everything was okay with you. And at this time in history, Artaxerxes was the king. And Nehemiah had developed a pretty close friendship with him because of the position that he had. And have you ever, if you know somebody pretty well, when they walk into a room and you see them, they don't have to say anything, you can just look at them and there's something wrong. You know what I mean? You can just look at them and say, you know what, something's wrong with that person. Something's not wrong. So here, Nehemiah goes up to the king. And since they have this close friendship, the king looks at him and he just knows something's not wrong. There's something's out of place with Nehemiah. So Nehemiah begins to tell him why he's so sorry. He begins to tell him what's going on. And he looks at the king and he says, you know what? He says, my brother informed me that the people of Judea and the city of Jerusalem were in terrible condition. In verse 3, he says, they said to me, the remnant in the province who survived the exile are in great trouble and disgrace. Jerusalem's walls have been broken down, and its gates have been burned down. Now, over 150 years earlier, King Nebuchadnezzar and his armies of Babylon invaded Israel. And they carried many people at that time away to Jerusalem. So they've been in captivity for about 150 years. And now they've been released and told they can go back. But not all of the Jews returned to Jerusalem. Nehemiah was still residing at the palace with the king. Now, how will Nehemiah respond to what he learned from his brother? In verse 4, it says, when I heard these words, I sat down and wept. I mourned for a number of days. This wasn't something like, oh, we are those slap to the back. You know, now let's get back with fun. He was brokenhearted by what he had heard. This wasn't something that just made him feel that. What was happening to these people just didn't make him feel that. It literally broke his heart. He said, I mourned for a number of days, fasting and praying before the God of heaven. He was greatly burdened for the city and for the people of that city. And he didn't know it at the time. So God was starting to do a work in his life. God was starting to prepare him for something that he had planned for him to do. God was moving in his life, and he was soon going to use him to restore Jerusalem. Nehemiah had no clue at this point. But God found a man with a vision in Nehemiah. Nehemiah had a vision, and he was a man with a burden. Clearly, he was a man of prayer. Most important, Nehemiah was a man. He was willing to do what it was God needed him to do. And God was going to use him to rebuild the city of Jerusalem. And furthermore, God was going to use him, this humble servant, to bring about restoration to the whole nation of Israel. It's really fascinating what happens. And there are many, many similarities between Jerusalem and Nehemiah's day and the church in our day. I truly believe that. The church in America, in many ways, is just a mere shell of what it used to be. Just like the city of Jerusalem is a shell of what it used to be. The church is just a mere shell of what it used to be. It's a mere shell of its former self. It's a mere shell of what God has created and desired for it to be. In many cases, and I hate to say this, but the church is probably wrong for what God wants us to do and wants us to be. And it's going to start. If we want to get back to what it is that God wants us to do, it's going to start with repentance. It's going to start. I've said it many times before, but do you realize when it comes to getting the gospel message out to the world and to people just outside of these walls, God didn't come up with a plan B. It was a plan A, and you and I are in it. We are God's plan to reach this world with the gospel message. God didn't say, well, if my people don't, then I've got to have a plan B. We're it, folks. We're God's plan A. Which means we've got to do something. We've got to be a people of action. The walls of separation between the church and this world, somewhere along the lines, have been broken down. There's little difference between the things that happen in the world and the things that happen in the church. I have to sadly say this. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the world and the church. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between somebody who's just professing Christianity, who claims that they're a Christian, and somebody who's serious. You realize that God did not call us to fit in. God did not call us to model the world. God called us to model His Son, Jesus Christ. He called us to stand out and be separate from this world. In 2 Corinthians 6:17, he says, therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Do not touch any unclean thing, and I will welcome you. We are not to fit in with the world. We are to stand out. And I don't think if any of you here would disagree that the church needs to provide. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. The question is, who is willing to stand up and do something like that? That's the question. Who's going to do it? And we're going to go through this chapter 1 and ask that question. Will we be that person? And many people have the idea that they're the only person. Just one person. And just one person can't have that type of impact. Let me tell you something. If you're indwelled by the Holy Spirit, you're a whole lot more than just one person. The power that brought Christ out of that grave is residing in you. So it's just not you. It's you along with the power of the Holy Spirit. So you don't think that you're alone. And besides that, that's kind of a pessimistic mindset that's been proven false time and time again. One person can't have a major difference on this world. We've seen it time and time again. President John F. Kennedy famously said, one person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Are we willing to make a difference? Are we willing to give it a try? And if we are, God can accomplish an amazing work in your life and in this world. We're going to look at these 3 attributes that we see here in this passage that Nehemiah possessed. And we should have these same attributes inside of us. Number 1, you will have a concern for the things of God. If you are a professing Christian, you should have a concern for the things of God. And number 2, you will have a burden for the people of God. And number 3, you will have a passion for the work of God. The very first verses 1 and 2 here is going to show the concern that Nehemiah had for the things of God. That's what we're going to look at first. It says, the words of Nehemiah, son of Hechaliah, during the month of Chislev, in the 20th year, when I was in the fortress city of Susa, Hananiah, one of my brothers, arrived with men from Judah. And I had questioned them about Jerusalem and the Jewish remnant that had survived in exile. Now, although Nehemiah was serving the king here, where was his focus and attention directed? He had a job to do. He was busy being this king's cupbearer, but his heart was with his home people. His heart was with his homeland. And he asked Hananiah about Jerusalem, often called the Holy City, the city of God. And Nehemiah would learn that Jerusalem, for the lack of a better term, pretty much lay in ruins. It pretty much had been devastated. The walls were broken down, the gates had been caught on fire and burned up. And in the following verses, we see where Nehemiah's heart was. He was a man that's focused on the things of God. What do we need people like that in church? Can you imagine the difference, the impact that all churches were made if every professing Christian was truly focused on the things of God? What an impact the church can make. And there's no shortage of men and women that would say that, but there's a great shortage of men and women who truly focus on the things of God. And one of the most devastating issues I believe that's plaguing the church today is misplaced priorities. Right? There are many men and women who claim to be born again who profess their undying love for Jesus. I would go to prison for my faith in Christ. Yet they won't even be in church on Sunday. How many things do we allow to come between us and our relationship with God? We say God is the number one most important thing in our lives. But yet, the way we live our lives proves that to be false. Are we truly focused on the things of God? Where is the church on your list of priorities? I'll get there when it's convenient. I'll do it when I can. Where's the church on our list of priorities? Here's a better question. Where's our worship on our list of priorities? How about where's our where probably the number one most important thing? Where is prayer on the list of priorities? How about your Bible study? How about Christian service? Where is that on the list of our priorities? Do the things of God come before your career? Do they come before your family? Do they come before your recreational activities? It's a really nice day. I would like to be in church, but it's we've had a lot of rain, so it's nice. I want to go. We can sit back and make excuses all we want. But don't profess that Christ is the number one most important thing in your life if you're proving otherwise. Because here's the thing, God knows it. All of those things that we just mentioned, God knows where those priorities rank. You can fool me, you can fool people sitting around here, but make no mistake, you're not fooling God. He knows our hearts. Where is God in your life? Is he truly the most important thing? I want to just read some Bible verses here about what Jesus had to say about priorities. In Matthew 6, 19 and 21, he says, "Don't collect for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But collect for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." He also said in Luke 14:26, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." In John 14:15, he said, "If you love me, you will obey what I command. In Matthew 22, verses 37 and 38, he said to them, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command. Is that pretty clear what God thinks about our priorities? I think that's pretty clear. What he says should be our number one priority. The priorities of our lives reveal that we truly do have the next love for God. Do we just say it? Or are we living it? Are we showing it? Because folks, here's the thing, we can't afford to get this wrong. Let me put it, it's possible to profess Christ, but not possess Christ. It's possible. Because I'm going to tell you, if you truly possess Christ, there's going to be changes that take place in your life. Make no mistake, God is not going to leave you how He found you. He's going to make changes in your life. And if you truly possess the Holy Spirit, you're going to want to obey the things of God. You're going to want to focus on the things of God. We see that here in Nehemiah. He had an important job, but his heart was with his home. His heart was with his people and what God wanted to do. Will we be the ones that are concerned about the things of God? Or are we just going to be okay with the status? Things happen, what I can do. I'm just going to sit here and let things continue. All around me. And I know this world is chaos, but I'm just one person. There's nothing I can do. Well, I'm glad Nehemiah didn't have that mindset. I'm glad that wasn't the way he was thinking. Would you be the one who is concerned about the condition of the noble church? Many people would answer that question with a very quick and probably a very loud yes. But as the old saying goes, sure you've heard it, actions, well, speak louder than words. If you really are the one who are concerned with the things of God, it will be evident by the things that you do, not by the things that you say. Number two, will we be the one with a burden for the people of God? In verses 2 through 4, it says, Hananiah, one of my brothers, arrived with men from Judah, and I questioned them about Jerusalem and the Jewish remnant that had survived the exile. They said to me, the remnant in the province who survived the exile are in great trouble and disgrace. Jerusalem's walls have been broken down, and its gates have been burned. When I heard these words, I sat down and I mourned for a number of days, fasting and praying before the God of heaven. Even worse than the news concerning Jerusalem was the report that there was great affliction amongst his brothers and sisters. He was all broken hearted. Wow. And the Jews, they were despised and oppressed by many neighboring nations. And anyone can say that for the true burden sort of lead to a decisive. Nehemiah had such a burden. And I want you to listen to this. He had such a burden for these people that it truly caused him to grieve. These are his words. When I heard these words, I sat down and wept. Like I said, that's not a little weeping. That's chest heaving weeping. That's heavy sobbing. I mourned for a number of days, fasting and praying before God You see what Nehemiah did here? There's four things he did. He wept, he mourned, he fasted, and then what? He prayed. Nehemiah says that he sat down and wept, and he was brought to tears by the condition of these people. What would happen? Let me ask you. What would happen if the church today would be brought to tears? The condition of those people who are lost outside of this church. We'll talk about revival. What would happen if the people of God was brought to tears by the condition of the things that happen in this world? I think we would see a powerful move of God. That's exactly what happens. What would happen if we really saw how far the church has driven, I guess you could say, from its original purpose? Those actually do this. I don't really see another word for it. Blasphemy is prevalent in this world today. We have a lot of people that mock God. We have a lot of people that mock the things of God, that mock the people of God, and that should drive us to tears. But the problem is, many Christians have become way too active. There's no fire, there's no drama, there's no motivation. We sit and we talk, but we don't do. That's the problem. Christians, if you are a Christian, the things that are happening in this world right now should really be. Especially when we see the way that God is being mocked. It should really break our hearts. When we think of the multitudes of people who are not being reached with the gospel, when we think of all the people who are headed to hell, it's very low. That should be enough to drive us to our knees and to pray and to weep and to mourn. I think one of the greatest pictures of Jesus in the Bible is, we've talked about it here several times, is when he approached Jerusalem. You remember what it said that he did? He wept over the city. Like I said, when we see that word wept in the Greek, that means deep, chest heaving wept. Jesus literally wept over the condition of the people. If we truly are his followers, should we have that same mindset? Let me ask you, how long has it been? How long has it been since you've wept over someone that you didn't want to live? Each and every one of us knows someone. Right? How long has it been since you've wept over someone that you know personally is on their way to heaven? How long has it been since you truly cried out to God on behalf of your friends or your loved ones? If we can say we have a burden, but where's the tears? Where's the tears? Nehemiah just didn't weep and mourn. He also fasted and he prayed. Fasting, that was kind of a frequent practice among the Jews during captivity. Daniel fasted, Esther fasted, Ezra fasted. Now we're told that Nehemiah was fasting before God. And though he was a close friend of the king, when he had this problem, when he got this news, he was really close with the king, but he went way over the king's head. He went straight to God with his concern. And he cried out to God on behalf of his people. He was being the intercessor for his people. And most of the most beautiful prayers that you will read in the Bible come from someone who has a prayer. Most of the time, those beautiful prayers that you will understand is when you are in the middle of heat and pain. And that's no different. I want to read these verses. I want you to listen to Nehemiah's heart when you hear this prayer that he prays to God. In verses 5 to 11, he says this: I said to Yahweh, the God of heaven, the great and awe-inspiring God, who keeps his gracious covenant with those who love him and keep his commandments. Let your eyes be open and your ears be attentive to hear your servant's prayer, that I now pray to you day and night for your servants, the Israelites. I confess the sins we have committed against you. Both I and my father's house have sinned. We have acted corruptly toward you and have not kept the commands, statutes, and ordinances that you gave your servant Moses. Please remember what you commanded your servant Moses. If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the people. But if you return to me and carefully observe my commands, even though your exiles were banished to the ends of the earth, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place where I choose to have my name dwell. They are and your people. You redeem them by your great power and strong hand. Please, Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant and to that of your servants who delight to revere your name. Give your servant success today and have compassion on him in the presence of this man. Nehemiah cries out on the behalf of his people. And did you notice what he did in this prayer? One of the things that jump out at me when I read this passage, is he is reciting God's promises back. He is telling God, I know what you plan to do. He's literally praying scripture at this point. I've said that many times to people. That when you're praying, there are some things that God can't do. And lie is one of them. He cannot lie to you. And if he makes you a promise, you can rest assured he's going to keep it. And Nehemiah was reading these promises, or praying these promises back to God. But see, here's the thing. He wasn't just saying these promises back. He was believing these promises. He was believing that God was going to follow through with what he said he was going to do. Do we have a burden for the people of God? How long has it been since you prayed for the people of God? Nehemiah takes a step here to be an intercessor for the people. I'm going to tell you something, and my aunt will testify to this. What God has done in my life, what God has done in the life of my family, I am fully convinced it was because my grandma was praying for us long before we knew she was here. She was praying for her family. She was praying for God to move and work in the life of her family. And she prayed without ceasing for it. And you know what happened? God honored that request. Because she knew that God was going to do what he said he was going to do. Are we praying? I'm telling you. I truly believe you may not see God answer your prayers. You may not see God move and work in the lives of the people that you're praying for. But you can rest assured that he's doing it. I'm living proof. I'm living proof that God is going to do it. But I want you to notice that when Nehemiah began to claim the promises of God, God enlisted him to go to work. God gave him a job to do. The prayers concerning the people of God would be answered. But Nehemiah was going to have to roll his sleeves and get busy. And this is the part of the message we're going to do. Because nobody wants to hear about the work that's required to be done. Nobody wants to talk about that. They start talking about work, People are too, yeah. And we may not like it, but it's necessary for God's people to do more than prayer. God requires that we labor for Him. He requires it. Will we be the one with the passion for the work of God? In verse 11, he says, please, Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant, and to that of your servants who delight to revere your name. How many times do you see the word servant? Nehemiah is letting God know right off the bat, I'm your servant. I'm here to do what it is that you need me to do. Nehemiah wasn't just going to be a man of talk, he was going to be a man of action. And he was letting God know right up front, I am your servant. He says, your servants who delight to revere your name, give your servant success today, and have compassion on him in the presence of this man. At that time, I was the king's cupbearer. Now, like we said, remember, this speaks to the selflessness and the sacrifice of Nehemiah. To be the cupbearer, that was a big job, that was a big responsibility. And it was, in this life that he lived in the palace, think about it. Since he was such a good friend, and he was held to such high regard because of his position, what do you think that his life was like in that palace? If you didn't want to make anybody mad at you, who was the last person in the world you want to make mad at you? The cupbearer. Because he's the one responsible to make sure that you're alive, that you're not getting killed. So knowing that, I can imagine that Nehemiah living in the palace probably looked at a pretty good life. It was probably a life of peace and prosperity because he wanted him to be happy. He had this great life where he was. Honestly, he probably really lacked nothing. He didn't live with others in the ruins of Jerusalem. He wasn't there living in those slums. He wasn't anywhere near them. I mean, he spent his days in the king's palace. And let's be honest, he ate the best food, he drank the best wine. He was protected and he was provided. Well beyond what he could have done for himself. Now, he was doing something. God was doing a great work in his life. God had placed an immense burden in his heart for Jerusalem and for the people of Israel. And he was about to step out of this very comfortable lifestyle to be. And he was going to leave this important job with the king in order to do a more important job for God. Are we willing to leave our comfort zones to do what God is calling us to do? Are we willing to step out and say, you know what? I might not have the ability, I might not have the knowledge, I might not have this, I might not have that. But do you know those are exactly the people who God calls to do His work? The most important ability that you can have when it comes to serving God is availability. Just make yourself available to God, and He will use you in a powerful way. We see that here from Nehemiah. His burden to accomplish this God-given task was so great that the king could see it all over his face. And Nehemiah approached him, and we're going to look at that next week. We're going to look at Nehemiah chapter 2 and look at what happened when he had this conversation with the king. So I don't want to get into that too much right now. But today, many of the things of God truly need to be restored. There's no question that the church needs to provide, but where are the people that are willing to do whatever it takes to be taught? Where are those people? I truly believe with all of my heart that God wants to send them on. If we're willing and ready. Now, I don't think the Lord or the church did that. We're so comfortable with status quo. I forget what it was. I forget what who said it. But the quote was this: the Holy Spirit can lead many of the churches in America today. The church of God. That's a sad statement, but it's a true statement. We get so comfortable in our lives and the things that we're doing, that we no longer care or concerned with the things of God, the people of God, and we no longer have a passion to serve God. There's no shortage of people who will admit all of those things are true and all of those things exist. But there's a shortage of people who are willing to step up and do something. We need people in every church who want to be involved, are willing to step out of their comfort zone and get moving. We need some people who look around and realize, you know what, the walls are broken down. The gates have been considered, and it's time to rebuild. Will we be that person? Will we be that person? And if you will be, God will use that to spark a revival. God will use it. God will reveal the things that are broken. God will reveal the things that need your prayer. He will show you the people that you need to go to. He will give you a word that should process what you can do. God is the only one who can break your heart. He is the only one that can restore his people. God is the only one. But in his infinite wisdom, and I said this to Jenny the other day, I think with you before. And I was just thinking, and I said, think about this. Do you realize that God doesn't keep you? Think about it. God doesn't need you. He can do, I believe that God is omniscient, God is omnipresent, God is immutable. He can do, God is sovereign. He can do whatever he wants, whatever he wants. He doesn't need you. But he wants you. You ever think about that? The creator of all that we see does not need you to do anything. But he wants you. He created you. He loves you. He wants to intervene and work in your life, even though there's nothing that you can offer. But he wants you there. Isn't that amazing? To me, that blows my mind. He doesn't need you to do anything. He can do it whatever he wants. A lot of times, you hear people say, they don't want you when they need you. They want to call me when they need something. You hear that all the time. It's just the opposite. He wants us, and we have nothing wrong. And yet, we don't care. It's amazing to me when you really think about it. In his infinite wisdom, he has chosen to use people to do great works in this world. And I think it's very important that we become willing vessels that God can use to get the church and to get the country back where it needs to be. And God will bring revival and restoration. But before you can be, you have to belong. Before you can be the one, you have to know that you're a sinner. Before you can be the one, you have to realize that there's no way that I can ever reach heaven on my own accord. The only way that I can ever be in heaven is by grace through faith in Christ. The only way that I can receive power of the Holy Spirit is by placing my faith in the finished work of the cross and making him to be my Lord and personal Savior. That's the most important thing. If you haven't done it, will you do that today? Will you make it? If you need to be dedicated to it, if you need to run with the first time, maybe there's something in your life that you need to hold you back from really being in service to God. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But mark my words, God knows, and you know. Put your heart where you need to be God. Don't wait. You will please stay and sing a closing.